What if I told you that 1941 changed the course of World War II forever? That's right, it was the year Blitzkrieg, or Lightning War, was unleashed upon the world, a strategy so revolutionary it would forever reshape the face of warfare. Born out of necessity and honed by the German military, Blitzkrieg was a novel concept that combined speed, surprise, and immense firepower to disorient and destroy the enemy. This wasn't your average warfare. This was a frighteningly effective method that focused on bypassing strongholds and striking at the enemy's heart. Its origins can be traced back to the interwar years, but it was World War II that provided the stage for its debut performance. The Germans, with their Panzer divisions and Stuka dive bombers, were the first to implement this strategy. The strategic advantage it offered them was nothing short of game-changing. As we delve into 1941, we will see how Blitzkrieg, the Lightning War, struck the world with an unforeseen intensity. In April 1941, the world watched in horror as Greece fell to the might of the Blitzkrieg. Greece held a strategic importance during the Second World War. Nestled at the crossroads of Europe, Asia, and Africa, its control was crucial for both the Axis and the Allies. However, the Greek military, even with the support of British Commonwealth forces, was ill-prepared for the onslaught that was about to come. The Germans, on the other hand, had perfected a new form of warfare that was fast, brutal, and efficient: the Blitzkrieg, or Lightning War. This strategy relied on speed and surprise to disorient enemy forces, with a concentrated force of tanks, artillery, and infantry breaking through the enemy lines at a single point, encircling them and cutting off their supply routes. It was a strategy that had already seen success in Poland and France, and Greece was next on the list. On the 6th of April, the Germans launched their attack. The Greek and British Commonwealth forces put up a valiant fight, but they were no match for the German war machine. The Blitzkrieg tactics bypassed the heavily fortified Metaxas line, and within 3 weeks, Athens fell. The Greek and British Commonwealth forces had fought bravely, causing significant casualties to the German forces, but their efforts were not enough. The speed and ferocity of the Blitzkrieg had once again proven too much for the unprepared Allied forces. The fall of Greece was a significant blow to the Allies. It disrupted their plans in the Mediterranean and the Middle East, and it was a harsh reminder of the effectiveness of the German Blitzkrieg. The Greek campaign delayed the planned German invasion of the Soviet Union Operation Barbarossa by several weeks, a delay that would later have significant consequences. But for now, the world could only watch, as the swastika flew over the Acropolis. The fall of Greece was not just a military defeat, but a grim foreshadowing of what was to come. Barely had the dust settled in Greece when Yugoslavia found itself in the crosshairs of the Blitzkrieg. In the early spring of 1941, the Axis powers turned their attention to Yugoslavia. This Balkan nation, with its strategic location, was a key piece of the puzzle in Hitler's grand plan for Europe. But why was Yugoslavia so important? Yugoslavia, rich in resources and nestled between Greece and Hungary, was a stepping stone to the Middle East and its oil fields. Its capture would also secure the southern flank of Hitler's forthcoming invasion of the Soviet Union. The Blitzkrieg, or Lightning War, was Germany's preferred strategy. It was a military tactic designed to create disorganization among enemy forces through the use of mobile forces and locally concentrated firepower. Its successful execution led to swift victories in Poland and France, and now it was Yugoslavia's turn to face the storm. On April 6, 1941, the invasion began. German, Italian, Hungarian, and Bulgarian forces swept into Yugoslavia from all sides. The Yugoslav army, poorly equipped and caught off guard, put up a brave but futile resistance. By April 17th, just 11 days after the invasion began, the Yugoslav government had capitulated. The speed and efficiency of the Blitzkrieg were devastating. The Yugoslav people, who had hoped to remain neutral in the conflict, were now under Axis control. The country was dismembered, its territories divided among the Axis powers, and a puppet state was created in Serbia. The invasion had a profound impact on the Yugoslav people. Thousands of soldiers and civilians were killed during the invasion and subsequent occupation. The country's infrastructure was severely damaged and its economy was plundered. The invasion also ignited the bitter internal conflicts that would tear Yugoslavia apart during and after the war. Yugoslavia's defeat underlined the devastating effectiveness of the Blitzkrieg, but the greatest test was yet to come. The stage was now set for the next chapter in this dramatic saga. Operation Barbarossa, the largest military operation in human history. On June 22, 1941, Hitler launched his most ambitious operation yet, the invasion of the Soviet Union. Known as Operation Barbarossa, this was a military campaign of unprecedented scale and ambition. Hitler's objective was clear and audacious: the total destruction of the Soviet Union and the establishment of Nazi hegemony over Eastern Europe. Blitzkrieg, the Germans' famous lightning war strategy, was to play a pivotal role in this operation. Blitzkrieg relied on rapid, concentrated attacks intended to disrupt the enemy's command structure and create panic. It was a strategy that had served the Germans well in their previous campaigns. But in the vast hostile terrains of the Soviet Union, would it prove as effective? In the early phases of Operation Barbarossa, it seemed the answer was a resounding yes. 3 million German troops, supported by an array of tanks, artillery, and aircraft, surged across the Soviet border. The Red Army was taken by surprise. Its command structure was indeed disrupted, and panic did ensue. Blitzkrieg appeared unstoppable as the German forces quickly advanced, capturing vast territories and inflicting heavy casualties on the Soviets. Cities fell one after the other: Minsk, Smolensk, Kiev. The speed and intensity of the German advance were breathtaking. It seemed that Moscow, the heart of the Soviet Union, was within reach. Hitler's dream of crushing the Soviet Union seemed closer to reality, but as the Germans pushed deeper into Soviet territory, they began to encounter problems. The vast distances and poor infrastructure made resupplying their advancing troops increasingly difficult. The Soviet resistance, initially in disarray, started to stiffen. And then, the Russian winter set in. The German troops were not prepared for the ferocity of the Russian winter. The freezing temperatures, the snow, the ice, these were conditions in which the machinery of Blitzkrieg struggled to function. Tanks and trucks broke down, aircraft were grounded, the lightning-fast advance of the German forces slowed to a crawl, and the Soviets, hardened by their harsh climate, began to fight back. They launched counterattacks, exploiting the Germans' difficulties. The tide of the war began to turn. Despite their initial successes, the Germans failed to achieve their ultimate goal: the capture of Moscow. The onset of winter, coupled with fierce Soviet resistance, halted the German advance just short of the city. The Blitzkrieg, which had seemed so unstoppable in the summer, was stopped in its tracks by the Russian winter. Despite initial successes, Operation Barbarossa marked the beginning of the end for the Blitzkrieg. The unforgiving Russian winter had begun to turn the tide. As 1941 drew to a close, the Blitzkrieg was losing its shock and awe factor. The Blitzkrieg, or Lightning War, had initially been an unstoppable force. Its fast, concentrated attacks had taken the world by storm. But as the year 1941 drew to its conclusion, the Blitzkrieg was beginning to lose its momentum. There were several reasons for the Blitzkrieg's ultimate failure. First and foremost, the weather played a significant role. The harsh Russian winter was a formidable foe, one that the German forces were ill-prepared to face. Snow, ice, and freezing temperatures hindered the progress of the German tanks and aircraft, effectively stalling the Blitzkrieg. Logistics also played a crucial role in the Blitzkrieg's downfall. The German forces were stretching themselves thin, both in terms of manpower and resources. Supply lines were overextended, and there was a lack of adequate equipment and provisions. In essence, the Germans were trying to cover too much ground too quickly, and their forces were spread too thin. However, perhaps the most significant factor in the Blitzkrieg's failure was the resilience of the Allied forces. Despite the initial shock and disarray, the Allies were able to regroup and mount a formidable defense. They were not going to be easy prey, and they fought back with everything they had. The British, for instance, were able to hold their own during the Battle of Britain, staving off the German air attacks. The Soviet Union, despite suffering heavy losses, was able to halt the German advance at the Battle of Moscow, marking a significant turning point in the war. So, while the Blitzkrieg had initially appeared to be an unstoppable force, it was ultimately a strategy with limitations. It promised fast, decisive victories, but in the long run, it was unable to deliver on those promises. So, as we reflect on the events of 1941, we see that while the Blitzkrieg reshaped warfare, it was not invincible. In the end, it was a strategy that promised more than it could deliver.